Those folks out on the roads this morning might have some high-tech consoles in them, but Apple's new system, CarPlay, puts your iPhone or iPad right in the dashboard.
Let's talk to Shelly Palmer about this. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This sounds like it's going to be a whole lot of gobbledygook when you're trying to drive. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. So, well, you may not be that wrong. I wish I could say you were totally wrong. Look, distracted driving is a big issue, and everyone's talking about it. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel.
So the last thing we would need, I would think, is essentially an iPad built into our dashboard.
Correct, but CarPlay is not necessarily an iPad built into your dashboard. It uses your car to access Siri and the entire collection of Apple products. Apple's actually rebuilt this from the ground up, CarPlay. So what you've got is, if you can control it with anything on your car, the knobs, any knob, any button, that will be part of the control system. They'll be on the dedicated, cars that are built for this, there'll be a dedicated button on the steering wheel. It's 100% eyes-free and voice commanded. So,
wow.
You'll be able to just tell it what you want, text, you get your emails, all of that's going to be eyes-free and voice commanded, which is very cool. It'll, of course, have iTunes Radio, and it'll have Stitcher and Spotify and Beats. So that's kind of cool. The other thing that's interesting, because it's your iPhone and because you're logged into it, it's going to be location-based and it's going to be anticipatory. And what that means is, like with Google now, Apple's got a system where it says, wow, you're 20 minutes from work, you maybe want to stop off at the grocery because your grocery list is in your list that you've made. So it's going to kind of know what you've done with your iPhone and in your environment and kind of tell you things you can do while you're out there. Sadly for everyone, it's going to use Apple Maps, not necessarily Google Maps, but Apple Maps, coming out in sometime later this year. It's going to be in Ferraris and Volvos. It'll be in Mercedes-Benz. Ultimately, it'll be in GM cars and Nissans and BMWs. And there's a rumor that it'll happen with Ford. There's no pricing on it. There's no launch date. And sadly, it will only work with an iPhone 5, 5S, or 5C and subsequent phones.
Let's say you are an Apple person,
yes,
or you are a Google Android person. Are you going to have a choice? Like, let's say you want to go buy a GM car. Can you say, I'd like the Apple version or the Android version?
So that's a really good question. There is an Android alliance that actually a lot of companies, Audi is in, and a lot of other car companies are in, and there's a whole group of people trying to make Android cars. Then there's a whole group of people trying to make Apple cars. So CarPlay is sort of a new thing that sits above all of those because it's a single product from Apple that they're going to put in whatever cars they put it in. But there is an Apple alliance and there is an Android alliance, and all the car companies are experimenting with both.
So you might have to pick and choose.
Shelly, we need to ask you this question. We've been talking about the cell phones ringing, the people who have family members who are on that Malaysian airline jet that just disappeared. They're calling their relatives' cell phones and their friends' cell phones, and the cell phones are ringing. Why is that?
You're going to hear a ring because that happens at the phone company switch. This is so incredibly sad. When you make a call on a cellular phone or a mobile device, the computer just rings the phone. The ring has nothing to do with what's happening on the other side. You'll go to voicemail either immediately or after some number of rings, especially if the phone is roaming. It'll take a second for it to connect. It'll connect through the system. And while it's connecting through the system, in order for you to know that you're initiating this transaction, it'll ring. But it's not the phone ringing. It's the phone company ringing for you. The phone itself is doing nothing, and it's so incredibly sad. That's just a misunderstanding of the technology.
You can actually set your phone. If I want to take this phone and smash it to smithereens, I can still have some sort of setting where it would still ring? You
have no choice. It's going to either ring. It may go directly to voicemail, depending if you've set 1 ring, 2 ring, 5 rings. Some people want the phone to ring a couple of times before it goes to voicemail so they have a chance to pick it up. You can actually set that delay. Most people don't know the setting is available to you, but it's available to you when you get a cell phone, or any phone, to be honest. So it's really, really, really unfortunate that people are misinterpreting this. And I've read some articles about that where they really haven't understood what they're listening to. The phone is not ringing. The switch is ringing.
The computer is ringing.
And it's really a glimmer of hope that I sadly don't believe is actually hopeful.
Shelly, thanks very much this morning.
Thanks, Shel.